I'm bothered. So when a serious offence, like the one that David Challoner committed, is committed at an address, every adult who is partially connected to or residing at that address, every business, everyone possibly connected to that offence and to that address is notified and interviewed, because we have to establish who else knew. That's routine. And I thought maybe something had changed and that wasn't routine anymore. It fucking is. There's absolutely no possible way that the Green Party, with that as its registered office, did not know this was a crime scene. There's absolutely no way that Amy Challoner did not know at all in the entire 3 years since David Challoner's offences. Now, I am deeply concerned. Because first of all, Amy is a very vulnerable, it's absolutely been clear from in the last 3 years that Amy is very mentally disordered, that has some disturbing views about women, has some disturbing views about what behaviour is acceptable, a disturbing use of the internet to target, stalk, or harass, which, by the way, had previously been demonstrated. Surprise, surprise. Amy's very vulnerable and living in a very seriously fucked up household. And the person who appears to have been the head of that household has had a direct line now to a very senior point in a political party to demand self-ID. A man who tortured a 10-year-old while dressed as a 10-year-old has had a direct way of doing that, and we have seen the results, which have been a concerted, violent and abusive campaign to demand the even discussion, a safeguarding debate, which is what the debate about access to spaces of safety from male violence is, has children as its primary stakeholder. If you say that on the internet now, you're a TERF. You dare to say that it is legally and morally uncontested that when the choice is the imaginary inner 7-year-old of an adult and a real 7-year-old where there are legal and political responsibilities, that we always prioritise the real 7-year-old. And yet saying that on Twitter will get you targeted harassment from the cultures around Jess Bradley and Amy Challoner and Ros Cavini. There has been the paedophile information exchange and PIE, which is what's kind of coming out in the child abuse inquiry, which rather ironically is playing out and nobody's listening to. That was at a time when sexual boundaries seemed to be changing rapidly. And all the gay men I know, and all the gay women I know, remember that paedophiles were trying to normalise themselves through this, and they all had to fight really, really hard. And the gay men I know spent decades trying to get away from the mark of their normal sexuality being conflated with this paraphilia that harmed children. And yet here we are again. And so this time the child abuse inquiry is playing out. This is after Savile. This is a post-Children's Act world, a post-safeguarding world, where everybody knows not to do this. Everybody knows that you assess adults on the basis of their behaviour and not their identity. There are direct links emerging around Amy Challoner and the weird as fuck internet stuff between really disturbing trans activism and paedophiles, and they're there to go and have a look at. So I am now beyond disconcerted and beyond concerned about how far this campaign to get access to children has gone. I will hazard a guess, although I don't check anymore, I haven't checked the political press, that The Guardian are not reporting on this. And I would ask why The Guardian are taking the approach that they have done. Because there is no way, absolutely none, within current procedures, that either Amy Challoner or the Green Party were not completely aware of the offences that went on in that house that David Challoner was accused of. There's no way. And the pattern that's been demonstrated in the 3 years since that event, since those offences, and we don't know, is it just single offences in that house? Was the attic set up for single offences? I don't know, this is other questions that I have. But one question I don't have is, what did Amy Challoner use his platform for? Because the only thing that Amy Challoner's platform was used for was to demand the end of safeguarding and to target and harass and abuse women for discussing and knowing that that was dangerous. And Amy's star rose very specifically because he did that. He gained success immediately in the Green Party on the back of targeting women and actively. You know, it was bad enough that he was actively encouraged in industrialised stalking, but the picture that's emerging is a really lot worse. And I'm perturbed. Very.